Something sacred happens when the heart grows uneasy with its own distance from Allah. That restlessness is not anxiety. It is recognition. It is the soul remembering a place it once belonged, even if the mind has forgotten the path. This discomfort is not a sign of loss. It is the earliest sign of return. Allah reminds us that hearts are not healed by escape, but by remembrance. When the soul begins turning back, it no longer finds comfort in what once distracted it. The same things that used to numb the pain now feel empty. This is not weakness, it is awareness. Imaan does not always arrive as strength. Sometimes it arrives as dissatisfaction with anything that is not Allah. There are moments when you feel strangely emotional without knowing why. A verse softens you. A simple mention of Allah makes your chest tighten. Guilt appears, not to crush you, but to wake you. This is the soul shedding layers it no longer wants to carry. The Prophet taught us that hearts rust, and remembrance is what polishes them. That ache you feel is the rust breaking away. You may think you are failing because you still struggle, still fall, still feel delayed, but Allah's mercy is not revealed only in success, it is revealed in return. Qadr works quietly. While you count what is missing, Allah is rearranging what is coming. While you think you are late, Allah knows the exact moment your heart can finally hold what it asked for. When the heart begins to return, sabr changes its meaning. Patience no longer feels like forced silence, it becomes trust. Tawakkul grows where control once lived. You stop demanding answers and start breathing through the waiting. This is healing, not the kind that removes pain instantly, but the kind that gives pain a purpose. Faith revives the heart gently. It does not shout, it settles. Peace comes not because life becomes easy, but because Allah becomes near again. Repentance stops feeling like shame and starts feeling like relief. You realize Allah was never distant. You were simply overwhelmed. So hold on to one simple act, return through remembrance. Even if your heart feels weak, let your tongue speak Allah's name. Let dhikr carry you when emotions cannot. Allah tells us in the Quran that He comes closer when His servant takes even a small step. That step is enough. And know this. If your heart longs for Allah again, it is because Allah wants you back. The door was never closed. The path was never erased. This awakening is not the end of your story. It is the moment your soul remembers where it belongs. According to the heart's quiet pull, discomfort with distance from Allah becomes a mercy, not a punishment. There is a subtle moment when the soul can no longer tolerate being far from its source. What once felt normal, neglect, distraction, emotional numbness, now begins to ache. This ache is not random. It is the heart waking up to its own absence. Allah allows this discomfort because ease and distance would be far more dangerous. If the heart felt peaceful while disconnected, it would never seek return. This uneasiness is divine kindness disguised as inner tension. When Imaan begins to stir again, the heart develops sensitivity. It notices silence where remembrance should be. It feels heavy after heedlessness. It senses emptiness even in moments of worldly success. Allah tells us in the Quran that He placed within the human being a knowing soul, one that recognizes truth, even when the mind argues against it. That knowing is what creates this inner pull. The heart remembers Allah before the tongue does. It remembers safety, surrender, and meaning. This discomfort is not meant to shame you. It is meant to redirect you. Just as physical pain alerts the body to injury, spiritual pain alerts the soul to separation. The mistake is assuming that this feeling means rejection. In reality, it means attention. Allah does not disturb hearts He has abandoned. He stirs the ones He wants to draw near. The restlessness you feel in moments of quiet is not emptiness, it is invitation. As this pull strengthens, you may find yourself longing without clarity, longing to pray better, to feel close again, to be forgiven, even if you cannot yet change everything. This longing itself is a form of return. Tawakkul begins here, not in certainty, but in desire. Sabr begins here, not in endurance, but in awareness. The heart leaning toward Allah, even in confusion, is already moving in the right direction. According to returning souls, Tears appear without explanation when Allah is remembered. They come suddenly, without warning, as if the heart has been touched in a place words cannot reach. There is no clear memory, no specific fear, no visible wound, yet the eyes fill. This is not emotional weakness. It is the soul recognizing closeness after a long separation. Allah designed the heart to respond before the mind can interpret. When remembrance passes through the tongue, it travels deeper than thought, awakening places that have been silent for too long. Allah reminds us that He is nearer to the human being than awareness itself. When His name is mentioned, something ancient stirs within. The tears are not only grief, they are release. Years of holding, suppressing, pretending strength begin to loosen. The heart finally feels safe enough to soften. This softness is Imaan returning quietly without announcements. The Prophet taught us that among those shaded by Allah are hearts that remember Him in solitude and weep. These tears are not demanded, they are gifted. Often these moments surprise the person experiencing them. You may not feel righteous. You may still struggle with habits, doubts, or delays. Yet the tears arrive anyway, reminding you that sincerity is not perfection. Allah accepts the broken call just as He accepts the polished one. When the soul begins to return, it does not come dressed in confidence. It comes trembling, unsure, overwhelmed by the weight of divine mercy it forgot it needed. These tears also carry recognition of truth. The heart realizes how far it wandered, how much it relied on itself, how long it survived without turning fully to Allah. But instead of despair, the tears carry relief. The door is still open. The distance was never final. Remembrance becomes a meeting point between divine gentleness and human vulnerability. As this sign deepens, the heart begins to crave moments of dhikr, not out of obligation, but out of longing. The tears no longer frighten you. They become evidence that the soul is alive, responding, and slowly finding its way back. According to inner awakening, old sins begin to feel heavy instead of normal. What was once shrugged off without thought now sits uneasily on the chest. The soul no longer sees them as distant mistakes, but as burdens it can no longer ignore. This awakening is not condemnation. It is the stirring of divine guidance within the heart. Allah placed a natural compass in every soul, one that eventually turns toward truth, even if the mind resists. When the heart starts noticing the weight of past wrongs, it is already moving toward repentance, toward cleansing, toward intimacy with its Creator. This heaviness often comes with sudden clarity. Actions that once seemed trivial now feel sharp in their consequences. Words spoken in haste, moments of neglect, secrets of the heart. Each surfaces in the quiet, demanding acknowledgement. Allah reminds us that no act of ours is hidden, and the heart's recognition of this is part of His mercy. It is not meant to crush, but to awaken. The Prophet taught that the one who sincerely regrets is already closer to Allah than the one who has never strayed. In that recognition, the soul finds the first spark of hope. The experience can be disorienting. Guilt and shame can flood unexpectedly. And yet, unlike before, there is no desire to escape. The heaviness is a guide, a signal that the heart is alive and capable of returning. Previously ignored habits, thoughts, and distractions lose their hold. The longing for forgiveness grows stronger than the desire for comfort. The heart begins to seek Allah in its restlessness, knowing that only His mercy can truly lift the weight it now feels. As this awareness deepens, even minor sins become catalysts for dhikr and dua. The soul realizes that its past does not define it, but acknowledging it is the pathway to spiritual revival. The heaviness is a sign that the heart is waking, that inner transformation has begun, and that the pull toward Allah is gaining momentum. According to spiritual revival, patience replaces panic even before answers arrive. The heart, once frantic at every delay, begins to breathe differently. It no longer views unanswered prayers as rejection, but as part of a larger unseen wisdom. This transformation does not come from circumstance changing, but from the soul itself opening to trust. Allah reminds us that He measures time not as humans do. What seems long to the heart is exact to His knowledge. the restless heart begins to recognize that waiting is not absence, it is preparation. In this quiet patience, the mind softens. The panic that once consumed thoughts of tomorrow or regret over yesterday loses its authority. Moments of uncertainty no longer feel like storms, but gentle nudges, teaching surrender. The Prophet demonstrated that sabr is not passive endurance, it is active reliance, a conscious turning toward Allah while the world around you continues its turbulence. Even before relief comes, the heart finds a subtle peace. Understanding that divine timing is never misaligned, the soul begins to notice the small signals of guidance that were always present. A verse, a whispered prayer, a sudden clarity. Each becomes proof that waiting is not meaningless. Tawakkul is no longer a concept, it becomes an experience. The heart stops counting hours or comparing its timeline to others. It learns that trust grows not in the fulfillment of desire, but in the ability to remain anchored while the outcome unfolds in Allah's hands. This patient heart also becomes a quiet sanctuary for reflection. Impatience that once triggered anxiety transforms into contemplation, introspection, and subtle joy in the process itself. Even struggles are no longer purely burdens, they become instruments of inner awakening. The soul recognizes that the ability to endure with conscious surrender is itself a gift of divine mercy, a signal that Allah is drawing the heart closer even before answers arrive. According to softened hearts, worldly noise loses its grip during moments of dhikr. The clamor of life, the endless obligations, the distractions, the voices demanding attention, begins to fade when the soul reconnects with its creator. Things that once seemed urgent now feel distant, almost hollow, compared to the intimacy of remembrance. Allah designed the heart to respond to His mention above all else. When it does, even the loudest chaos becomes background music. The stillness that follows is not emptiness, but awakening. A quiet recognition that the world is only a passing stage and the soul's true home is with Allah. In these moments, the heart grows, sensitive to subtle beauty. A whisper of the Quran, a fleeting thought of gratitude, or the calm of a prayer transforms ordinary experience into profound connection. The Prophet taught that hearts that remember Allah are like gardens that bloom despite surrounding aridity. Even amidst life's chaos, dhikr becomes a lifeline, pulling the soul toward clarity. The noise does not vanish entirely, but it loses its ability to dominate, no longer dictating moods or sowing unrest. The softened heart also begins to recognize deception in worldly attachments. What once promised fulfillment now feels hollow, and the desire for superficial approval diminishes. The heart grows discerning. It craves sincerity, presence, and the subtle comfort of Allah's nearness over temporary pleasures. Every distraction that once held power now seems transient, easily set aside for even a few moments of focused remembrance. This shift in perception is not sudden. It is cumulative. The soul learns that closeness to Allah is not found in grand acts alone, but in consistent, mindful turning toward Him. Each moment of dhikr becomes a gentle anchor, a softening balm for restless thoughts, and a reminder that true contentment is not in what the world offers, but in the awareness of Allah's presence in every heartbeat. According to divine alignment, delays start feeling purposeful instead of cruel. The heart, once impatient and burdened by unanswered prayers, begins to perceive time differently. What once seemed like endless waiting now takes on a hidden rhythm, a quiet orchestration beyond human comprehension. Allah reminds us that His planning is precise and perfect. Every pause, every setback, every moment of seeming stagnation carries intention. The soul begins to sense that what feels like delay is often preparation, an unseen arranging of circumstances, lessons, and wisdom that only He can. This shift changes the way the heart experiences life. Frustration softens into reflection. Anxiety over outcomes transforms into attentive observation of subtle signs. The prophet taught that sometimes what a servant fears losing contains hidden blessings, and what they pursue eagerly may carry unseen trials. The heart, awakening to this truth, begins to trust that delays are neither neglect nor injustice. They are a divine invitation to patience, growth, and reliance on Allah. As this awareness deepens, the soul stops measuring success by immediate results. It begins to recognize that answers often arrive in forms unexpected, and timing is not a human standard, but a divine measure. Moments of waiting become opportunities for introspection, repentance, and subtle spiritual growth. Every postponed dream or unanswered question starts to feel like a thread in a larger tapestry, woven by a hand infinitely wiser than our own. The heart begins to feel a quiet peace even amidst uncertainty. Delays, once a source of anxiety, transform into reminders that Allah's wisdom surpasses human understanding. The soul learns to lean not on outcomes, but on the one who arranges them. In this state, even unanswered prayers cease to feel like emptiness. They become a space where trust deepens, faith strengthens, and the heart aligns with the rhythm of divine timing, recognizing that every pause carries a hidden purpose. According to renewed Imaan, hope survives even when circumstances do not change. The heart, once weighed down by disappointment and unmet desires, begins to pulse with a quiet resilience. It learns that true hope is not anchored in worldly outcomes, but in the mercy and promise of Allah. Even when the situation remains unchanged, the soul senses a light that cannot be extinguished, a whisper of assurance that Allah's closeness is constant and sufficient. This the essence of faith awakening from within, hope untethered from fleeting circumstances and anchored in divine love. The prophet taught that the heart which clings to hope even in darkness is never truly abandoned. As Iman strengthens, the soul begins to perceive trials not as endings, but as stages in a larger journey. The heart no longer measures success by immediate results, but by the persistence of trust, the patience of the spirit, and the quiet turning toward Allah in every moment. Each act of remembrance, each whispered dua becomes evidence that hope is alive, breathing, and intimately connected to divine mercy. This hope transforms perception. What once felt like failure now carries hidden lessons. What once felt like stagnation now holds the potential for growth. The heart understands that Allah's wisdom is infinite and that His mercy reaches beyond human comprehension. Even in the absence of visible change, the soul experiences subtle shifts, a softer response to hardship, a deeper longing for closeness, and an increasing awareness that Allah is shaping the heart in preparation for what it cannot yet see. Renewed Iman also awakens gratitude in unexpected ways. The heart begins to notice small blessings that were previously overlooked and finds contentment in Allah's presence alone. Hope, in this context, is no longer fragile or conditional. It becomes an unshakable rhythm within the soul, a quiet certainty that Allah is near, that every prayer is heard, and that the return of the heart to Him is not only possible, but already unfolding in ways unseen. The journey of the heart returning to Allah is neither sudden nor linear, yet every subtle shift, every tear, every moment of longing is proof that the soul remembers its origin. Your restlessness, your patience, your softening, and your hope are not signs of weakness. They are signs of revival. Allah's mercy is not delayed. It is quietly shaping you, teaching you to lean, to trust, and to seek Him in ways you never knew you could. When the heart turns back, even a single step in remembrance carries the weight of eternity, and every moment of dhikr becomes a bridge to divine closeness. Let your soul cling to that hope. Let your prayers be your refuge, and let your trust in Allah be unwavering, for He does not abandon the hearts that sincerely seek Him. This is the sacred awakening, a return to the one who has never left, a homecoming for the soul, and the beginning of a peace that transcends every struggle, every fear, and every delay. Your heart is on its way back, and in that journey lies the most profound mercy you will ever know.